"Your husband bought me a new house," the mistress boasted, waving the keys in the wife's face. "You can keep this old dump," she laughed, her designer heels clicking on the tile floor. But when the wife calmly pulled out a stack of documents and smiled, the mistress's face went pale. "Actually," the wife said softly, "that house is mine, and you have 48 hours to get out." Before we reveal what happens next, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our dramatic stories. And to my loyal family who've been rocking with us, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. The afternoon sun hung heavy over the compound as Amara knelt in her garden, her hands deep in the red earth. Sweat beaded on her forehead, but she didn't stop. She never stopped. For 15 years, she had tended this home, raised 3 children within these walls, and endured whispers that followed her husband like shadows through the village. Daniel was a handsome man, tall, smooth-talking, with a smile that could charm money from a miser's pocket. But Amara had learned long ago that charm without character was just poison wrapped in pretty paper. Still, she had stayed. For the children. For the vows she made before the elders. For the inheritance her father left her, tied to this land, these walls, this life. She was pulling weeds from around the pepper plants when she heard the car. A sleek, black SUV rolled through the compound gates, music thumping from the speakers. Amara's stomach tightened. She knew that car. Everyone in the village knew that car. It belonged to Olivia. Amara stood slowly, brushing dirt from her wrapper. She watched as the SUV parked directly in front of her door, not to the side, not respectfully, but right in the center, as if the compound belonged to the visitor. The engine cut off. The music died. And then she emerged. Olivia stepped out like she was walking a fashion runway. Her hair was freshly braided with expensive attachments that gleamed in the sunlight. Gold jewelry dripped from her neck, wrists, and ears. Her dress, a tight, bright red number that cost more than Amara spent on groceries in 6 months, hugged every curve. Designer sunglasses perched on her nose. She looked around the compound with a smirk, her glossy lips curling in satisfaction. And then Daniel stepped out from the driver's seat. Amara's heart didn't race. It didn't break anymore. It had cracked so many times over the years that it had learned to simply exist. She watched her husband adjust his watch, the gold one she'd never seen before, and walk around the car to stand beside Olivia. He didn't look at Amara. He never did when Olivia was around. "Amara!" Olivia's voice rang out, sweet as poisoned honey. "Good afternoon, O. I hope we're not disturbing you?" Amara said nothing. She simply waited, her face calm, her hands folded in front of her. Olivia sauntered forward, her heels clicking against the concrete. Daniel followed a step behind, his face unreadable. When they reached the veranda, Olivia stopped, tilted her head, and smiled like a cat that had just cornered a mouse. "I came to share some wonderful news with you," Olivia said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Daniel and I wanted you to be the first to know." Amara's eyes flicked to her husband. He looked away. Olivia pulled a set of keys from her designer handbag and dangled them in the air. The metal caught the sunlight, glinting mockingly. "Your husband bought me a house," she announced, her voice rising with theatrical excitement. "Not just any house. Oh, a mansion, 3 stories, swimming pool, modern kitchen, everything. It's in the new estate, where all the big people are moving to." She stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming, her smile sharp. "Daniel said I deserve to live like a queen, and you know what? He's right." She gestured dismissively at Amara's compound. The modest home with its fading paint, the garden Amara had built with her own hands, the children's toys scattered near the door. "You can stay here in this old place. I'm sure it has sentimental value." The words hung in the air like smoke. Somewhere in the distance, a chicken clucked. A neighbor's radio played high-life music. Life continued, indifferent to the cruelty unfolding in Amara's compound. Amara looked at the keys, then at Olivia, then at Daniel, who still refused to meet her eyes, and then she smiled. It wasn't a bitter smile. It wasn't a broken smile. It was the smile of a woman who had been counting cards while everyone else thought she was just sitting at the table. "How wonderful for you both," Amara said softly. Olivia blinked, clearly expecting tears, shouting, drama. She recovered quickly, tossing her braids over her shoulder. "I knew you'd understand. After all, a woman must know her place, right?" She laughed, a high, grating sound. "Daniel, baby, we should go. I want to show you the bedroom again." She winked dramatically. Daniel cleared his throat, uncomfortable but silent. He turned to leave, and Olivia followed, her hips swaying exaggeratedly. Amara watched them climb back into the SUV, watched them drive away, music blasting, dust rising in their wake. She stood there until the sound of the engine faded completely, until the compound was quiet again except for the birds and the wind. Then she walked into her bedroom. The room was simple, a bed, a wardrobe, a wooden table with a cracked mirror. But Amara didn't go to any of those places. She knelt beside the bed and reached underneath, her fingers finding the old metal box she'd hidden there 3 months ago. She pulled it out and set it on the bed. The lock was rusted, but strong. She retrieved the key from inside her bra, the one place Daniel would never dare look, and opened it. Inside were documents, stacks of them, land deeds, property registrations, transfer records, legal letters. And at the very top, a business card for Mr. Kwame Mensah, attorney at law. Amara picked up the card, running her thumb over the embossed letters. Then she reached for her phone. Outside, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. A storm was coming. Everyone could feel it, but only Amara knew when it would strike. Amara sat on the edge of her bed, the documents spread before her like pieces of a puzzle she'd been solving in silence for months. Her fingers traced the faded ink on the oldest deed, the one signed by her father, Elder Okan, 25 years ago. She remembered that day. She'd been only 10 years old, sitting beside him as the village scribe wrote out the documents. "Amara," her father had said, his voice deep and certain, "this land is yours. These 12 acres. No man can take what your ancestors have given you. Remember that." She'd nodded, not fully understanding, but her father had understood. He'd seen too many women lose everything to husbands who smiled sweetly before signing away their wives' inheritance. So he'd done something unusual. He'd registered the land in Amara's maiden name, witnessed by 5 elders, stamped by the local government, untouchable. When Amara married Daniel 15 years ago, she'd been young and in love. Daniel had been charming, ambitious, full of dreams. He'd talked about building an empire together, about making her father proud, and foolishly trustingly, she'd let him help manage the properties. "Just sign here, darling," he'd said one evening, sliding papers across the dinner table. "It's for tax purposes, makes everything easier if we consolidate the assets." She'd signed, and signed, and signed. Whatever Daniel put in front of her, she'd trusted him with. It wasn't until 6 months ago that she discovered the truth. Amara closed her eyes, remembering that terrible morning. She'd gone to the land registry office to update her contact information, something routine. The clerk had looked confused when she'd introduced herself as the owner of the properties. "Madam, according to our records, these properties were transferred to Mr. Daniel Okonkwo 3 years ago. See?" He'd turned the computer screen toward her. Amara's world had tilted. "Transferred? I never authorized any transfer." The clerk had shrugged sympathetically. "The signatures are here, madam, and your husband provided marriage certificates, affidavits, everything needed." She'd stumbled out of that office, her legs weak, her mind racing. That evening, she'd searched Daniel's study while he was out with Olivia. Hidden in a locked drawer, the key taped under his desk, she'd found copies of everything. Transfer deeds, sale agreements for 2 properties he'd already sold, and a promise letter to Olivia dated 6 months prior. "My queen, I'm building you a palace. The house will be ready by December. You'll never want for anything." Amara had photographed everything with trembling hands. Then she'd called the one person she knew could help, Mr. Kwame Mensah, a lawyer who'd worked with her father years ago. Mr. Kwame had reviewed everything and smiled. "Amara, your husband made one critical mistake. He forged your signature on the transfer documents, but he couldn't erase the original deeds. The land was registered as your premarital property, witnessed by elders who are still alive. Any transfer without your genuine consent, with legal representation present, is void." "Can we fix this?" she'd whispered. "We can do better than fix it," Mr. Kwame had said. "We can take everything back, but you need to be patient. Gather evidence. Let him think he's won, and when the time is right, we strike." So Amara had waited, watched, collected bank statements showing Daniel's spending on Olivia, Recorded conversations where he bragged about his properties, built an airtight case while playing the role of the quiet, defeated wife. Now, 3 months later, everything was ready. Amara picked up her phone and dialed Mr. Kwame's number. He answered on the second ring. "Mrs. Okonkwo, I've been expecting your call." "He gave her one of my houses," Amara said quietly. "She came here today to mock me with the keys." "Perfect," Mr. Kwame said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "That's the evidence we needed. He's transferred property to a third party using forged documents. That's fraud, Amara. Criminal fraud." "What do we do now?" "Tomorrow morning, we file an injunction. I'll get court orders to freeze all the properties. Then we serve him papers at his office publicly so there's no room for negotiation. And Mrs. Okonkwo?" He paused. "Bring those original deeds your father left you. We're going to need them." Amara exhaled slowly. "How long will this take?" "With the evidence you've gathered? 2 weeks, maybe 3. But Amara, you need to understand, once we start this, there's no going back. Your marriage is over." She looked around the bedroom she'd slept in for 15 years, at the wardrobe holding clothes she'd mended over and over because Daniel spent his money elsewhere, at the children's photographs on the wall, beautiful children who deserved to see their mother stand up for herself. "Mr. Kwame," she said, her voice steady, "my marriage ended the day he chose to steal from me. I'm just making it official. Then we begin tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. Bring everything." After she hung up, Amara packed the documents carefully back into the metal box. She locked it, hid the key, and lay down on her bed. Tomorrow, the storm would begin. But tonight, for the first time in months, Amara slept peacefully. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. The ancestors were watching, and they were pleased. Olivia's housewarming party was everything she'd dreamed of, and more. The mansion on Magnolia Street glittered with lights strung across the sprawling compound. A DJ spun the latest Afrobeats hits while guests danced on the marble patio. Tables overflowed with jollof rice, grilled chicken, fried fish, and enough champagne to float a boat. Olivia had spared no expense. After all, this was her moment, her victory. She stood on the grand staircase in a gold sequin dress, holding a microphone, her face glowing with triumph. Below her, over 100 guests, friends, family, business associates, and a few of Amara's distant relatives she'd invited specifically to rub salt in the wound, looked up, waiting. "Thank you all for coming," Olivia's voice boomed through the speakers. "Today is special because it represents what happens when a man truly values a woman, when he sees her worth and rewards her accordingly." Cheers erupted. Someone whistled. Daniel stood near the bar, grinning, soaking in the attention like a lizard in the sun. "This house," Olivia continued, gesturing dramatically at the chandelier above her, "is proof that good things come to those who know their worth. Some women settle, some women accept crumbs, but me?" She paused for effect. "I demanded the whole cake." Laughter rippled through the crowd. A few women clapped enthusiastically. Others exchanged uncomfortable glances, thinking of Amara, Daniel's legal wife, sitting at home while this spectacle unfolded. Olivia raised her champagne glass. "To Daniel, my king, my provider, my everything, and to this beautiful house, my house. To Olivia," the crowd chanted, glasses raised. Daniel walked up the stairs and kissed Olivia publicly, passionately. Phones came out, photos were snapped, videos recorded. Within minutes, the party was trending on social media. Olivia's new house, #blessed and favored, king and queen. What none of them noticed was the figure standing quietly at the compound gate. Amara had arrived. She wore a simple but elegant navy blue dress, her hair wrapped in a cream gel, no jewelry except her late mother's gold earrings, no makeup except a touch of lipstick. She carried a large brown envelope under her arm. The security guard at the gate recognized her immediately. His eyes widened. "Madam Amara? Should I? "Let me in," Amara said calmly. He hesitated, then stepped aside. What was he supposed to do? This woman had been Daniel's wife for 15 years. Who was he to stop her? Amara walked up the long driveway, her footsteps steady. The music got louder, the laughter more raucous. She reached the patio just as Olivia descended the staircase, still holding her microphone, still basking in her moment. Then someone saw her. "Is that Amara?" The music didn't stop, but conversations did. Heads turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Olivia froze mid-step, her smile faltering. Daniel's face went pale. Amara walked through the parting crowd, her eyes fixed on Olivia. When she reached the center of the patio, she stopped. The DJ, sensing the tension, lowered the music. The sudden quiet was deafening. Olivia recovered first, forcing a laugh. Well, look who decided to show up. She gestured to the crowd. Everyone, you know Mrs. Amara, right? Daniel's first wife. The way she said first dripped with mockery. Amara didn't react. She simply stood there, envelope in hand, looking around at the guests, at the house, at the opulence purchased with stolen wealth. Did you come to congratulate me? Olivia pressed, her confidence returning with the crowd's attention. It's okay, you know. No hard feelings. Daniel has more than enough love to go. This house doesn't belong to Daniel, Amara said quietly. The patio went silent. Olivia laughed nervously. Excuse me? This house, Amara repeated, her voice steady and clear, doesn't belong to Daniel. It never did. Daniel pushed through the crowd. Amara, what are you doing here? You're embarrassing yourself. Go home. Amara, for the first time in 15 years, Daniel saw something in her eyes that made him step back. Not anger, not hurt, something far more dangerous. Certainty. I am home, Amara said softly. She opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of documents. This house was built on land that belonged to my father. Land that was registered in my maiden name 25 years ago. Land you forged my signature to steal. She held up the first document, a land deed, yellowed with age, bearing official stamps and witness signatures. And I'm here, Amara continued, her voice carrying across the silent crowd, to take it back. Olivia's champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. The silence stretched like a tightrope ready to snap. All eyes were on Amara as she stood in the center of Olivia's party, documents in hand, her face calm as still water. Daniel found his voice first. Amara, stop this nonsense. You're drunk or confused or... I'm neither, Amara interrupted. She turned to address the crowd directly. My father, Elder O'Con, left me 12 acres of land when he passed. This house sits on one of those acres. The deed has been in my name since I was 10 years old. She held up the document higher so everyone could see the official stamps, the faded signatures, the witness marks from village elders. 3 years ago, my husband forged my signature on transfer documents. He told me I was signing tax papers. Instead, he was stealing my inheritance. He's since sold 2 properties and gave this one, she gestured around the mansion, to his mistress. Murmurs erupted. Guests pulled out their phones, some recording, others texting furiously. This was better than any Nollywood movie. Olivia's face had gone from confident to confused to terrified in the span of 30 seconds. Daniel? Her voice cracked. You said this was your house. You said you bought it with your money. Daniel's jaw clenched. Amara, we can discuss this privately. No. Amara's voice cut through his plea like a knife. We're done discussing things privately. We're done with you making decisions about my property behind closed doors. A car pulled up to the compound gate. A sleek sedan. Mr. Kwame Mensah stepped out, briefcase in hand, followed by 2 police officers in uniform. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as the lawyer walked through. He stood beside Amara, opened his briefcase, and pulled out more documents. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Kwame said pleasantly, as if he'd simply come for the party. I'm Mr. Kwame Mensah, Mrs. Amara Okonkwo's attorney. I apologize for interrupting the festivities, but we have legal business to attend to. He turned to Daniel. Mr. Okonkwo, I'm here to inform you that as of 4 p.m. today, the court has issued an injunction freezing all properties originally registered to Mrs. Amara Okon, now Mrs. Amara Okonkwo. This includes the 12 acres of land and all structures built upon them. Daniel's face went from pale to gray. You can't do this. Actually, we can. And we have. Mr. Kwame handed him a document. This is your copy of the court order. You'll also find that any transfers made without Mrs. Okonkwo's genuine legal consent, meaning with her lawyer present and her full understanding of what she was signing, are null and void. Olivia stumbled backward, grabbing the staircase railing for support. Wait. This is a mistake. Daniel gave me this house. It's mine. He signed the papers. Mr. Kwame turned to her with professional sympathy. Miss, I'm afraid Mr. Okonkwo never had legal authority to transfer this property. The land belongs exclusively to Mrs. Okonkwo as premarital inheritance. Under Nigerian law, it means my husband stole from me and gave away what wasn't his to give, Amara finished quietly. One of the police officers stepped forward. Miss Olivia Adeyemi, Mr. Daniel Okonkwo, you are hereby ordered to vacate these premises within 48 hours. Failure to comply will result in forced eviction and criminal charges for trespassing. The crowd erupted. Phones were everywhere now, capturing every moment. Tomorrow, this would be the talk of every social media platform, every WhatsApp group, every office gossip session across the city. Olivia turned on Daniel, fury replacing shock. You lied to me. You told me you bought this house. You said it was your money, your success. She shoved him hard. How you? I left my job for you. I bragged to everyone that my man was rich. And all this time, her voice broke. All this time I was living in his wife's house? Daniel tried to grab her arm. Baby, listen, I can explain. Don't touch me, Olivia screamed. Mascara ran down her face. Her gold dress suddenly looked cheap under the harsh truth. You made me a thief. You made me look like a fool. Amara watched the scene unfold with no satisfaction, no joy, just exhaustion. She turned to Mr. Kwame. I want to go home. Of course, the officers will ensure they vacate peacefully. He looked at Daniel. Mr. Okonkwo, expect to receive divorce papers and a lawsuit for fraud within the week. I'd suggest you hire a very good lawyer. As Amara walked back through the crowd toward the gate, people stepped aside, some with respect, others with shame for doubting her. One of her distant cousins, a woman who'd laughed at Olivia's toast earlier, reached out. Amara, I didn't know. I swear Amara kept walking. She didn't need apologies from people who celebrated her humiliation. Behind her, Olivia's sobs mixed with Daniel's desperate explanations. The party was over. The music had stopped. Guests were already leaving, eager to spread the news. Amara climbed into Mr. Kwame's car, and as they drove away, she allowed herself one look back at the mansion, her mansion, glittering against the night sky. 48 hours. And then she'd decide what to do with it. Maybe sell it. Maybe rent it out. Maybe turn it into something useful, a shelter for women, perhaps. Women who'd been lied to and stolen from, just like her. The ancestors were smiling tonight. By morning, the video had gone viral. Someone at the party, multiple someones actually, had recorded everything. Amara's calm confrontation, the lawyer's arrival, Olivia's breakdown, Daniel's desperate stammering. Within 12 hours, the footage was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, even WhatsApp status updates from people who hadn't been within a mile of the party. The hashtags were merciless. Olivia evicted, stolen house, Amara's revenge, #karma is real. Daniel woke up on Olivia's couch. She'd kicked him out of the bedroom to 47 missed calls and hundreds of notifications. His business partners, his family, friends. Everyone wanted answers, and none of them were sympathetic. His phone rang again. His younger brother, Emmanuel. Guy, what is this rubbish I'm seeing online? Emmanuel's voice was angry. You stole from your wife, Amara, of all people, the woman who fed us when Mama was sick, the one who paid my school fees that year you were broke? Daniel rubbed his face. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You forged her signature and gave her property to your side chick. Emmanuel's voice cracked with fury. Do you know Mama is crying? The whole village is talking. Our family name is ruined because of your greed. I was going to pay her back. Pay her back? Daniel, that was her inheritance, her father's land. You can't just pay back something like that. Emmanuel's breathing was heavy. Don't call me again until you fix this, and stay away from Mama's house. She doesn't want to see you. The line went dead. Daniel dropped the phone and buried his face in his hands. Around him, the mansion that had felt like victory yesterday now felt like a prison. In 48 hours, he'd be on the street. He had nowhere to go. His apartment, the one he'd shared with Amara before getting successful, that was hers too, built on her land. Everything was hers. He'd built his entire empire on her foundation and never even realized he was standing on borrowed ground. From the bedroom, he heard Olivia on the phone, her voice shrill. I don't care what you think, Joy. I was deceived. No, I'm not stupid, he told me. You know what? Forget you. Forget all of you. She emerged moments later, eyes swollen, makeup smeared. She looked at Daniel with pure hatred. Get out. Olivia, please, get out. She threw a shoe at him. It hit the wall beside his head. I have family calling me a homewrecker. My friends are posting laughing emojis under my pictures. I lost my job, Daniel. My boss said I'm an embarrassment to the company's values. Her voice broke. I have nothing because I trusted you. We can figure this out. There is no we, Olivia screamed. There never was. I was just the stupid girl who believed a liar. She grabbed his shirt and bags, he'd brought a few things over the past weeks, and threw them at the door. You have 1 hour to leave before I call those police officers back. Daniel gathered his things and left. He had no fight left in him. He drove aimlessly through the city, past businesses where he'd once been welcomed, past bars where friends would wave him over. Now, those same people looked away when they saw him. Some pointed and whispered. One former friend actually laughed and shouted, "Thief!" as Daniel passed. By afternoon, his company's board of directors had called an emergency meeting. They didn't waste time. Daniel, given the current situation and the negative publicity, we think it's best if you step down, effective immediately. You're firing me? I built this company. With whose money? One board member asked coldly. From what we're seeing online, you built everything with your wife's assets you stole. We can't have that kind of leadership. Daniel was escorted out of his own office by security. His nameplate was already being removed from the door. By evening, he sat in a cheap motel room, staring at his phone. His social media accounts were a wasteland of insults and mockery. Old friends had unfriended him. Business contacts blocked him. Even distant relatives were posting things like, "I always knew there was something wrong with that boy." There was one message that stood out, though, from Amara. It was simple. The divorce papers will be served Monday. Don't contest them. It's over, Daniel. You made sure of that. He typed and deleted a dozen responses, apologies, excuses, explanations. But what could he possibly say? That he was sorry? That he'd meant to give it all back someday? That he loved her? None of it was true. And even if it was too late. Daniel deleted his response and set the phone down. Through the thin motel walls, he could hear a TV playing. Someone was watching the news. And in viral news today, a Lagos woman reclaimed 12 properties from her husband after discovering he'd forged her signature to transfer her inheritance. Even the news had picked up the story. He was now a national symbol of greed and betrayal. A cautionary tale parents would tell their sons, "Don't be like Daniel Okonkwo." Outside, rain began to fall. Daniel lay back on the lumpy motel bed and stared at the water-stained ceiling. Everything he'd built, the reputation, the respect, the lifestyle, had been a house of cards. And Amara had been the foundation holding it all up. Now she'd pulled that foundation away, and he was left with nothing but rubble and regret. 3 months later, the rainy season had passed, and the sun shone bright over Amara's compound. The children's laughter filled the air as they played in the garden. The same garden where Amara had been kneeling the day Olivia came to mock her. But now, the garden had expanded. New flowers bloomed along the pathway, the fence had been repainted. The house itself looked renewed, vibrant, alive. Amara stood on her veranda, watching her eldest daughter, Grace, chase her younger brothers around the mango tree. Their joy was pure, untainted by the drama that had unfolded months ago. She'd protected them from the worst of it, explaining simply that Daddy made some mistakes, and now Mommy is fixing things. They'd adjusted better than she'd expected. Children were resilient that way. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks ago. Daniel hadn't contested it. He couldn't. The evidence was overwhelming, and his lawyer had advised him to accept the terms quietly. He'd walked away with nothing but his personal belongings and a mountain of debt from loans he'd taken to maintain his fake lifestyle. Amara had heard through village gossip that he was living with a cousin in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment, doing odd jobs to survive. Olivia had moved to another state, her social media accounts deleted, her phone number changed. She'd vanished like smoke, her dreams of mansions and luxury evaporated. Amara felt no satisfaction in their downfall, just relief that the chapter was finally closed. "Mama," Grace called out, running up to the veranda. "Uncle Kwame is here." Mr. Kwame's car pulled into the compound, and the lawyer stepped out with his familiar briefcase and warm smile. Behind him was a younger woman carrying a folder. "Amara, good afternoon," Mr. Kwame greeted. "I brought the final documents for you to sign." They sat in the parlor, the same room where Amara had once signed papers without reading them, trusting a man who didn't deserve it. But now she read every word, every clause, every detail. "These are the deeds for all 12 properties, now legally and irrevocably in your name alone," Mr. Kwame explained. No loopholes, no vulnerabilities. Your inheritance is secure. Amara signed each document carefully, then looked up at the lawyer who'd become a friend. Thank you, Mr. Kwame, for everything. You did the hard part, Amara. You were patient when others would have acted rashly. You were strong when others would have crumbled. He smiled. Your father would be proud. After Mr. Kwame left, Amara walked through her compound, past the children playing, past the garden, to the back where a new structure was being built. Construction workers hammered and measured, bringing her vision to life. The sign was already painted and waiting to be installed. Ocon Women's Center, Empowerment Through Knowledge. She decided to turn one of the reclaimed properties, not the mansion on Magnolia Street, but a smaller building in town, into a resource center for women, a place where they could learn about land rights, inheritance laws, financial literacy, a place where they could meet with free legal advisors, a place where no woman would suffer in silence the way she had. The mansion on Magnolia Street? She'd sold it. The money went into a trust fund for her children's education and the Women's Center operating costs. She didn't need a mansion to prove her worth. She had something far more valuable: her dignity, her land, and her freedom. That evening, as the sun set in brilliant oranges and purples, Amara's mother-in-law, Daniel's mother, came to visit. The older woman's eyes were red from crying. Amara, my daughter, I am so ashamed, she whispered. I raised that boy better than this. I don't know what happened to him. Amara took the woman's hands gently. Mama, you're not responsible for his choices. You raised him with good values. He chose to abandon them. Can you ever forgive him? Amara was quiet for a moment, watching her children play. I've forgiven him, Mama, not because he deserves it, but because I deserve peace. Anger would only poison my own heart. She smiled softly. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean allowing him back into our lives. The older woman nodded, understanding. She blessed Amara and the children before leaving, her shoulders heavy with a mother's grief. That night, after the children were asleep, Amara sat alone on her veranda. The compound was quiet except for crickets and the distant sound of night birds. She thought about the journey, the betrayal, the shock, the decision to fight back, the victory. An old proverb her father used to say came to mind: a tree that stands on truth cannot be shaken by the winds of lies. She'd stood on truth, and she was still standing. Somewhere in the village, the storytellers were already turning her story into a folktale, a cautionary tale about greed and deception, yes, but more importantly, a story about a woman's quiet strength, about patience, about knowing your worth. Future generations would hear it. The story of Amara, who waited for the right moment, who fought with wisdom instead of anger, who reclaimed not just her property, but her dignity. And they would learn what she had learned, that what you build on lies will crumble, but what you build on truth will stand forever. Amara looked up at the stars, feeling her father's presence in the cool night breeze, and smiled. The harvest had come, and it was sweet. What lesson from Amara's story touched your heart the most? Have you ever had to stand up for yourself when everyone doubted you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story blessed you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We have more powerful stories coming your way. To my loyal family, thank you for rocking with us. Until next time, remember, your dignity is priceless. Never let anyone steal it. God bless you.